We're back again for the Team of the Week, brought to you by Slattery Sullivan Insurances in Nina. Call 067 56705 and use the reference code OurGame to get 10% off all new business quotes. Now, the Teams of the Week are always a contentious thing, and I suspect that it will be again. But I'll start off in probably one of the less contentious areas, and that's in the goals. And I've Nicky Quaid in there, and I think he was, obviously Galway scored 24 points, but there wasn't too many issues with what Nicky Quaid was doing. I think he found the mark most of the time throughout the game. I think Owen Murphy, Stephen O'Keefe and Aina Murphy, they all had a couple of issues here and there throughout their games. So I think Nicky Quaid was probably always going to come out on top there. The full back line is going to be Conor Delaney, Dan Morrissey and Shane McNulty. Now, I've gone for Conor Delaney because I just think he did quite a good job on Desi Hutchinson, a man who's built for Croke Park and has that speed and change of direction. And he spoiled Hutchinson a couple of times, kept him to 2 points. And I know Hutchinson definitely had an influence and brought other players into the game. But considering what he was up against, I think Delaney did quite well, as he did against Conor Whelan before that as well. So his form this season has been really good. I picked Dan Morrissey at full back. The other options you could have gone with, based on the starting lineups and the guys who wore number 3, were Hugh Lawler for Kilkenny, Conor Prunty and Dahi Burke. And I think that Morrissey probably was the most impressive of the lot. You could make a case for Sean Finn as well, and he wasn't too far off it. But I went with Dan Morrissey. I just think he kind of lowered it, and there never really looked like there was too much bother back there. Shane McNulty then I went for the other corner. Thought he did his job really well throughout that game against Kilkenny. Thought he limited Billy Ryan quite well, who he was marking. Certainly when I was just tracing all the matchups early in the game, that's who he was on. And he came up the field and scored a nice point. He was turned over there once or twice. I remember in particular being sent backwards by Wally Walsh on the Hogan stand sideline. But overall, quite a good game, and probably stood out for me a little bit more than others. I think a little mention to Sean Loftus, who struggled when Peter Casey came on, but he did really well and kept Graham Mulcahy scoreless, which is no mean feat whatsoever. So the half-back line, I think Caleb Lyons being in here is probably no surprise to anybody. He was immense, as he is most days for Waterford. He came up the field, he ran down the field, he went every which way, scored 2 points, and he's quickly becoming a colossus and up there with the best wing backs in the game. And on the other side here of the team, Kyle Hayes. So there's kind of similarities between the two of them, absolutely driving their teams forward, and there's that sort of interchangeability around the two of them that very much lends itself to modern hurling. And Kyle Hayes was just exceptional. The way he's brilliant in the air, he's covering ground. He'll be able to score points if you want him to be up the field more often than not. He didn't score against Galway, but you know that's in him. Nearly sprinted forward for a goal at one stage, although scuffed his shot. So he just destroyed anyone who came near him. Thought he was brilliant, and he's going from strength to strength. Ty DeBurka I've picked at number 6, and you could make a fair case here that should Diarmaid Byrnes be in the team. And I think if you're going for a centre back, I think Ty DeBurka, the people coming up against him here, Killian Buckley, who I thought was quite influential as the spare man for Kilkenny in the first half. Grode McInerney, I think, had a very quiet game and was chasing shadows against Keane Lynch at times. And Declan Hannon, I think he had his fill of it when Conor Whelan went out in the half-forward line. So I went Ty DeBurka here, and I can understand people who'd want Diarmaid Byrnes in the half-back line, or Fintan Burke, who came on at half-time and probably made a fair point to his management team. Also in the back line, Ian Kenny is another guy that I didn't mention that might be warrant mentioning, albeit I didn't go for him on this occasion. The midfield then, I've paired Jamie Byrne. He was always a default pick. And I went with Johnny Coe, and you could make a case that Will O'Donoghue and Dara O'Donovan got on plenty of ball. Like, they had huge support around him. And I thought Cohen, considering what he was up against, he worked fairly tirelessly, got on a bit of ball. I can understand if people would go for a different player, and I'd nearly accept it. People might be able to make a stronger case for somebody else. But if you look at the other options, Conor Brown for Kilkenny, Conor Fogarty, I don't think so. Jake Dillon taken off early. Pádraig Mannion played as a sweeper. David Burke was taken off at half-time. Shane Cooney was moved up to midfield. Didn't happen for them. And then it's just, did you want to go for one of the two players for Limerick? So I've gone for Johnny Cohen, but I'd be happy to hear other people's opinions on it. So the half-forward line, now, to be honest, there was a ridiculous amount of half-forwards who played really well in the All-Ireland semi-finals. I've gone for Jack Fagan, Tom Morrissey and Grode Hegarty in the half-forward line. And I've had to move a couple of guys move a few people around just to get them into the full forward line. But I think Jack Fagan, the way he turned things around in the second half, and the amount of ball he caught over different Kilkenny players, I can think of ones over Pádraig Walsh, and I can think of another one over Paddy Deegan, and just his selflessness and setting up those goals. So he had such an influential game, got himself a point, and he's really stepped up to the plate here. And it's kind of interesting. You think of Pádraig Mahoney getting injured, and that was such a huge blow to Waterford. But the way the half forwards are playing just now, he might even be under pressure to get back in the team, even though he's a captain, because Stephen Bennett isn't falling out of that team. Now, Kieran Bennett didn't have a great game the last day, so maybe Pádraig Mahoney goes centre forward. But like Jack Fagan isn't going out of the team either. Jack Prendergast has been very good on the whole. Austin Gleeson, obviously, he's not going to get dropped. Neither is Desi Hutchinson. So it's actually a fair job to get back into that team, but he's a quality player. That was a bit of an aside. Tom Morrissey scored 5 points and a free, so 6 overall. Grode Hegarty with 4, and 2 of them were going around battering lads, and I mean that in the best way possible. Really physical half forward line for Limerick, and those 2 lads typify it. Now, you could say Morrissey didn't necessarily play number 11. Fair enough. Could have put Cian Lynch in there. I don't think anyone from Galway, Cathal Mannion, if he had to stay on, maybe he would have been in the conversation. As I said, Bennett, quiet enough game. TJ Reid played out there, and he was all things to all men for that Kilkenny team. But I don't know, in a losing performance, he was really good, and I did think about having him in here, and it wasn't far off having him in here. But who do you drop? Do you drop Jack Fagan? I don't think so. Like, that was a star performance, and in the same game, and his contribution arguably won it for Waterford. I don't think they would have won that game without him. Like, even Fagan went back for a puck out in the second half, and I think caught it over a group that included TJ Reid. And I mean, that's no slight on TJ Reid. He had an excellent game. Do you drop Tom Morrissey? I don't think so. I don't think you can make a case for that. Or Hegarty. And Stephen Bennett, I put him in corner forward, even though he's further out the field. He was sensational. Scoring 1-3 from play, some of those 80-yard solo runs, and he's just so calm on the ball, and he seems like he's improving with every game, and he's in the Hurler of the Year conversation, and largely because of that performance. So I don't think you can drop him. I think Brian Kincannon was really good. Now, he was out in the wing at times, and he moved to the inside line, but I mean, in an overall sense, Galway were outplayed, and an awful lot of the ball, the lion's share of the ball, was on the Limerick side of the field. And what he did, winning frees, setting up scores, scoring 3 points of his own, I couldn't leave him out. And then Austin Gleeson, who was just his level of tackling, like when he got in there and tackled lads, he was sending them backwards. Sometimes he was fouling, and yeah, that's fine. You obviously don't want to go over the line, but he was sending players backwards and wasn't just letting them coast out and set up attacks. And it's important. Sometimes the fouling is important even. Winning frees, he ends up scoring 4 points, including the last one. He's absolutely bet down on all fours, and I think he had to be in there. So I can accept it that some people will be upset that TJ Reid isn't in here, that John Donnelly, who I thought was really good, scored 2 points and set up 5 or 6 scores, including frees one that I can think of. I can understand if you think that Neil Montgomery came on and did enough that maybe he should be in the midfield conversation and possibly ahead of Johnny Cohen. I'd accept that. I thought he was quite good. Conor Whelan got 3 points. Again, you're surviving on crumbs there. I thought he was good. And even Desi Hutchinson as well. Like, I've Conor Delaney, his marker, in here, and not Desi Hutchinson. But Desi Hutchinson came out with plenty of credit from that game. So it's a tough one, and it's a nuanced one. But that's my team of the week. Let me know what yours is. And as I said, brought to you by Slattery Sullivan Insurances. Call 067 56705 and get 10% off new business quotes with the reference "our game."